All right, good evening, everyone. Today is November 12th, 2025. I'd like to call to order the City of South Pasadena Public Works Infrastructure Commission regular meeting. Philip, would you please call roll?
Yes, I had advance notice. Vice Chair Brunel and Commissioner Sharma are absent today. Commissioner Dunlap, Commissioner Kerwin,
Here.
Commissioner Jones,
Here.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Present.
Commissioner Mailing, Chair Abelson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Philip. First up, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Jones, would you please lead us?
Oh, sure. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, next up, item 1 on the agenda is public comments. Do we have anyone in the audience who wishes to submit public comment on something that is not on the agenda? How about on Zoom? Do we have anyone for public comment?
No public comments, no hands are raised at this time.
Okay, all right. And I'll just note that prior to the, I guess it's a 12 p.m. deadline for submitting written comments, that we received, I counted 11. 4 of them were for one of the items on the agenda, and 7 of them were for non-agenda items. A number of them were involved the intersection of Indiana and Monterey and concerns about safety and pedestrian crossing, and then several others related to the intersection, the unusual intersection of Orange Grove and El Centro, and concerns about traffic and safety there. So I just wanted to note that those were received, and I certainly did read them. Okay, with that, I think we'll close public comments and move on to item 2. Does anyone want to reorder the agenda items? Add, says delete. I don't know if we can do that, but okay. Hearing none, we'll stick with the agenda as is. Next up, item 3, update on status of Orange Grove Avenue traffic study. Assam. Good evening.
I would like to give you an update on our project of working on. I'm sorry, zero. Yeah, our progress on working on Orange Grove as a result of all the concerns, and of course, we're all aware of the accidents that happened there, and really the unfortunate ones that just happened couple of last month and 2 years ago that resulted in fatalities. And with that, really, that made staff here really to focus and try to see what can be done to improve overall traffic conditions in and around the Orange Grove Avenue. And for now, I want to really update you on our progress on what we're doing about this. Just some simple facts about Orange Grove Avenue. It's a major arterial street that connects both our city and Pasadena with the State Route 110, and it has a total of 4 lanes of travel from Columbia Street to Oliver Street, with 2 lanes in each direction, separated by median. And south of Oliver Street, there are 3 lanes of travel: 2 for northbound and 1 for southbound. Total vehicular volume is approximately 30,000 vehicles per day, which is really pretty high, but considering it's a freeway off ramp, that's probably expected from that. Posted speed limit is 30 miles per hour. And there is an existing street lighting system along the entire route. And there are two signalized intersections, the one at Columbia Street and the one at the freeway ramp. So in the past couple of months, we've really been looking into, like I said, what we're trying to do. And there are three major issues that we're working on at the same time. Past couple of months, we made some field visits really to assess existing roadway conditions and see what can we come up with as maybe quick options until further hard measures or long-term solutions. At the same time, we had some meetings with residents in the area in general. And also we have initiated a comprehensive traffic study along Orange Grove Avenue. Okay, oh, you wanna fix? Sorry about. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So based on our field visits to the subject location and trying to assess again existing roadway conditions and what can be done about that, we identified some areas where we can implement some quick measures that really will heighten motorist awareness of the existing roadway conditions. One of probably the biggest issues that we all are aware of is the horizontal curvature along the entire stretch of Orange Grove, again, from Columbia all the way to the freeway. So some of these quick mitigation measures that we will be implementing hopefully soon will be adding some what we call curve warning signs with advisory speed limits. These we noticed that these hardly exist actually right now, but by adding some of these curve advisory signs, especially with the advisory speed limit, really, it will emphasize on motorists like this is your safe negotiating speed negotiating those curves. And we're thinking of putting those on both sides of the street for northbound and southbound, as well as it's going to be on both sides of the street. So for each direction will be one on your right and one on your left, with the again with the advisory speed limit line. Another issue that we probably will be, we think it's going to really improve. Again, your driving alertness of being too close to the curb line, especially with the raised median in the middle. And that will be what Caltrans calls a detail 25 and restriping the entire edge line of the medians with the higher reflective striping along with the raised pavement markers that reflects, the color yellow around the edge line. So again, that really brings it to motorist awareness that you're too close to the curb, for example. Right now, this is not actually, this is the photo to the right is not on Orange Grove. But right now, the painting, the edge line striping is fading and it's really hard to see how close you are to the curb line. So we believe something like this as a quick measure will help again bringing people awareness that you are too close to the line. The other thing is we noticed at the nose, median noses, there are no what we call the median right turn marking per se. Let's sort of keep right in another way. That's like the one shown on the picture here, along with the yellow diamond. Again, it brings it to motorist awareness. You are really at the nose of an intersection. Stay away from it. So these quick measures really that we can implement hopefully in the next few weeks, at least will bring in, will heighten motorist awareness of some of the issues that we believe that causes all of these problems in the past. Again, the curvature is a big issue there. And we believe something as simple as that at least will heighten that until further long-term medications are implemented on the roadway. Continue with that. The second part of what we've done so far is we met with some community members who lives along Oliver Street. We had a meeting on 9/24 with actually the resident who lived on the house that was hit by the car, the last accident we had. And in that meeting, again, staff simply talk to the residents and explain to them what's going on and what we're trying to do in the next few weeks or so, and also to hear their concerns, what did they think, and get some feedback from them. We followed up with that on October 27th. Again, we met with the same residents again, and at that time we had the idea about after we visited the location, and we had the idea about some of those quick, maybe fast actions that we can do. The one I mentioned in the previous slide, like the curve warning signs, and we shared that with those residents. And again, we really wanted to bring it to their attention that we are working on long-term measures with that respect. In that meeting, however, also the residents suggested that we meet with the group that lives on Oliver Street. So on 10:30, the residents who lives on 300 Orange Grove arranged for another meeting with, there were about, I think, 5 residents who live along Oliver Street that we went with them again. And with those residents, we did talk about the same issues, like what we think can be done quickly, what we plan on doing on the long run, and also to hear feedbacks from different sides of residents, not just that one particular resident who live in that street. And it's my understanding in that meeting that the community themselves, they were going to meet last Sunday, which I think they did, but no staff attended that meeting. And it was, again, to tell their neighbors about our meetings with them and to probably see if we can have a bigger, maybe more, covering more streets in that neighborhood. And we're waiting for the residents to let us know how did that meeting go, and if they want us to, have a bigger meeting with the residents along Oliver and some of those surrounding streets on the east side of Orange Grove. So we haven't heard from them since that last meeting. And on the long run here, as you probably, okay, I'm sorry, yeah. So, yeah, and what we're doing now, again, we have initiated a long-term study. We hired a Gibson transportation consultant to conduct a comprehensive study on Orange Grove. The study will obviously include collecting data, whether it's speed, volume, and analyzing the accident history in the area. And we also actually asked Gibson to carry 2 community meetings with residents. We want to, part of their solution is to, again, to meet with residents during the preparation or development of alternatives. And when we have those alternatives ready, we want to go back to the community, share with them what Gibson recommends in that report, and again, get their feedback, which at that time, obviously, will come back and tell you how that meeting went and what is the ultimate plan will be. Again, we had a comprehensive kickoff meeting with Gibson, and we really told them, look at every possible thing you can think of, spare no issue. Tell us what kind of improvement can we do. A lot of things that we could probably consider at that point could be like maybe changing traffic pattern or building a continuous raised median. But these are the things that we told them, be liberal. Think of everything that you can uh, uh, suggest as a long-term alternative and bring it to us. We'll share it with you, and we'll take it from there to see what is really the best way to hopefully try to alleviate any future issues with that. With that in mind, thank you for the meeting, and I'm open for questions.
Did we ever receive any report as to why? the accident?
No, that's, we don't have a copy of the traffic accident report yet, and I don't think the last one is ready yet. But staff at Public Works were not, we haven't seen the accident report.
Because I hear all about the speed and the
Well,
escape from Pasadena and the.
I think
PD.
that was the big
That-
issue.
that- that's
Yeah,
what I
the
heard. And so
high-speed chase by Pasadena.
And the argument that they got into with the boys, the girls, the whole thing. By painting the curves, by painting the side, isn't going to help. It may enhance visually those that are driving legally, but when you have someone like that happened, what I understand, it's not going to help. But I thank you for the report.
Thank you. And that's why we, again, we had the study conducted to look at those hardcore measures that really can help us improve the situation.
Eric, anything?
Sure. Thank you, Bassam, and thanks for providing this update. I know some community members have reached out, and I'd heard about a couple of these meetings, so glad that we get to hear it as a commission. One of the, and I don't want to engineer too much from the dais, but I know just from my experience in driving southbound on the roadway, you have the curve, and if this were maybe a mountain roadway, for example, you might put in chevrons, right? And a purpose of a chevron warns you of the curve, and it also kind of gives you and advises you on how fast you should take a curve. I wonder if there's a possibility to consider any, maybe not chevrons, but anything vertical in the median that's kind of reflective that might advise people of the turn, or something like a tough curb along the double yellow, just so when you're
Like a
heading south-
deflectors maybe or something?
yeah, like a tough curve with some delineators, just because as you're heading southbound, with the curb height, it's tough to, I think, judge what the
Sure.
curve is, and just trying to think if there's some way to maybe introduce something a little bit more vertical that's reflective, so as you're driving south, you can kind of see your headlights can shine,
Sure.
they can help you now.
And absolutely, that's something really, again, something I can personally talk to Gibson and say, hey, this is what the commissioner wanted to see as something to explore. But at our level here, I think whether it's personnel wise or even liability, we need to get that traffic engineering involved in
Mhm.
this to determine the appropriate way to put
Yeah,
those.
it sounds like Gibson will also be looking at you said leave nothing on the table, so more long-term transformative
Correct.
improvements. I think the spirit of my comment was trying to just think of something more
Absolutely.
quick build style that could be deployed pretty quickly.
Okay, and if you want, later on, maybe we can
Yeah.
work together and see what we can do about that.
Thank
I
you.
mean, work it.
Thank you, Eric. Commissioner Kerwin, any?
So I was gonna echo some of the comments about, I don't think that the proposed solutions are gonna make any difference with a reckless driver. So I am interested to see what the long-term improvements would be and what's on the table. But I was gonna ask, in prior conversation, I understood that this comprehensive traffic study was going to encompass all of Orange Grove, not just this segment up to the 110 freeway. Just south of the 110 freeway, it's a excessively wide road where there's room to put in bike lanes or put in other improvements on that segment, and then to the intersection at El Centro in Orange Grove, as a number of the public comments mentioned. I think there's a need to address that as well. And so as part of this comprehensive traffic study, I hope, and I guess I'm curious if you can say if that's still the case, that it would encompass that entire segment.
Yes, and actually, the study will cover the entire stretch of Orange Grove from Columbia all the way to Michigan, not just the freeway. We're
Just the
going-
mission, or how about?
No, all
El
from
Centro?
Columbia to Mission, the entire stretch of Orange Grove. Because I want to look at every possible things that we can do along the route. And sometimes when you try to mitigate, especially if you're doing physical measures like median nose or something like this, you want to make sure that it's not affecting the other side of the street. So once you do this, I want you to continue and look what happens south of it? How is that going to affect the section that is not included in the study? So we asked them to include everything. Along that is obviously the side streets, literally around the intersections of the side streets. Anytime we're doing major comprehensive mitigation measures, it's not just you're looking at the street itself, but you also want to see how is that going to affect your traffic distribution or even impact from cars coming from the side street. And El Centro, I think we did talk about it, and I made sure that they include that on the study as well. The
Okay.
intersection of.
Great, yeah, because that's one block
Yes,
south of
yes.
Mission, so
I asked them to include that based on our conversation.
glad to hear. Thank you.
A follow-up on that. So it's only being included in consideration for like the knockoff effects of what's happening from north of Mission? Or is it actually?
No, North of Mission, whatever they come up with as a final recommendation after, obviously, sharing and approving by everyone, it'll be to me like, okay, if we're gonna do this north of the freeway, what's gonna happen south of the freeway? So when they tell us this is what we're gonna do between the freeway and Columbia, at least I will know at that time when we present it to you and the council is, this is the kind of effect that it will have on the south side or south of the freeway. In order to know what that kind of effect is, that they have to include it in their study. So yeah, I asked them to look at the whole section all the way to Mission.
It sounds like, can we just get them to look additionally at the El Centro intersection as well? Can we just include that in a?
I'm sorry, what about El Centro? We did, actually, they're looking at the intersections, like I said.
He's asking about one block south of
Yeah,
Mission.
I think
The-
that's what's, you have mentioned that El Centro is included.
The
but
one
you keep
about
saying
the
Mission
Boulevard
is
we talked about.
One block.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
included in the study. That's included in the study.
That's
Okay.
where,
Right.
where the park is.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I asked them to include that one after I spoke with Commissioner Cleveland on that.
Okay, and then I've got stuff.
Is there a regulation as to the distance to go from 2 lanes, combine it into one?
It's not a regulation, it's more of a geometric design of the roadway. Sometimes physical restraints force you to, yes, narrow down or reduce the number of lanes. And of course, the amount of tapering that's required to go from 2 to 1 lane.
Okay.
So it's, yeah, it's more of the physical
We-
conditions on the road.
We have a lot of finger pointing when it gets down to that 1 lane.
It's actually, like I mentioned, it is 4 lanes and then it drops to 3 lanes.
And then
So
also-
obviously,
and then-
that's
then
an
it also
actual-
becomes a left turn lane for,
Yes.
for this, for whatever sheet that is, Oliver.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Bassam. I have a few questions and comments. I thought I might check, though, to see if we have any public comment on this, either in the audience or on Zoom. No.
There are none at this time.
Okay, so we'll close public comment. If somebody pops up, let me know. So this is in no particular order. It's just thoughts as they came to me. So the community meetings that you've had, and it's great that you've done that. I'm wondering if you can let us know when those are happening, whatever the appropriate method is. I'm interested for 2 reasons. One is a member of this commission and the chair for now. It's nice to know what's going on and perhaps join if we can to hear what the public is saying directly, because sometimes they can't make it to these meetings, but it's nice to hear what they're sharing with you. 2, I'm also interested because there's a neighborhood to the east of Orange Grove. There's also a neighborhood to the west,
Right,
which is inundated with cut-through traffic, just as the east is. And when Orange Grove gets challenged, the traffic spills off. So just a couple of asks. One, if you could keep us, whether it's Orange Grove, El Centro, or whatever, if you're having a meeting with neighbors it might be helpful for us to know and join if we can, just so we can be.
Absolutely. Next time we schedule a meeting after they, hopefully we're waiting for them to contact us and we'll let you know.
And it's not only awareness, thank you. It's not only awareness and possibly participation, but also knowing that you're on it and you're
Understood.
doing these things. I think it's great for us to know that.
Understood.
Let's see. You talked about adding or enhancing edgeline.
Yes.
And I wasn't clear. So I know you talked about the lines on either side of the center median, right?
Yes.
Did you say anything about adding edge line on the curb of either side? And the reason I'm asking, and I'm not maybe using the technical term correct, the southbound lane is challenged for two reasons, right? It's that abrupt pinch at Oliver with the addition of a left turn pocket, which is nowhere near big enough. And so you've got a lot of things going on and a crush there. And then once that merge happens, it's a very wide single lane.
Yes.
And there's speeding. Yes, you've got the pinch and then you've got the speeding after the pinch. And so I'm wondering if, or I'm suggesting you consider adding edge line on the curb, sort of the along the west curb for the southbound lane to narrow that travel lane so that maybe slows down the traffic as they're going down the street. I don't know if that was something you were proposing or not, but had you thought about that? And if not, would you think about that?
Anything, if we want to narrow the existing travel lane, again, that would require probably a more professional track engineering study. Just because we are really tampering with the existing physical conditions. What we suggested here as temporary fix that we can do from the city side as a quick measures are mainly really just to enhance visibility and awareness of existing roadway condition rather than looking into, narrowing down the street or, for example, closing left turn, things like this, which would require a more comprehensive test analysis because it will involve also as it is, as you know, Commissioner, that coming from from Pasadena side, passing Colombia, it is a very close merging lane, very short and close merging lane. Anything that we do on our level here by trying to narrow that by putting a wider edge lane would require at least, I would have to consult with Gibson, for example, and ask him to give me their professional opinion on this and what can be done, if that's something can be done quickly, and maybe they can help us design it because it has to be designed.
Right.
Yes,
But, okay, roadways have a standard width, right? And they have a
Correct.
minimum width.
correct.
The roadway that exists there is too wide. There's no question about it. And it's the one lane going south is wider than each of the two going north. That's also without
Sure.
question. So it would seem to me that if we're working on edge lining in the middle of the street to enhance the visibility, that if there's a minimum standard width for a roadway, that it shouldn't be a big deal to add paint along the curb line, the west curb line, to sort of tighten up the lane and keep the traffic going. Because there used to be, I mean, I don't want to spend hours on this. There was a speed feedback sign at one point that was knocked down and never replaced. That's on the stretch that I'm talking about. There are multiple street lamps that have been knocked down at the pinch and then south of the pinch that have never been replaced. A couple were a year or two ago, but a number of them were not. So it's an area where there's a lot of speeding. So the pinch is a big problem, but south of that is also a problem for speeding. So if we're looking at some enhancements that are short term, it's sort of like what I talked about to the point of my fellow commissioners. Orange Grove is a challenge from beginning to end.
Yes,
And south of the freeway, we've had multiple accidents because the lanes are quite wide, right? And there's multifamily buildings and there's a lot of turns in and out. There's a two-way turn lane. Now I'm talking south of the freeway.
stop.
But the travel lanes are ridiculously wide. And it's supposed to be one lane in each direction, but it's almost enough for two. And that sort of promotes speeding and some other things. So that's why months ago, I also talked about edge lining there to narrow the roadway. So I'm just asking that you consider that as part of this, because I think if we're going to do some short-term things, maybe this is something we can do to help, whether it's adding the edge line north of the freeway or maybe continuing it southerly to Mission.
So I'm sorry, Chairman.
Seizing the moment, right?
You're talking south of the freeway,
I was
going
talking,
southbound.
yes, I was
Okay,
talking
okay.
north of the freeway.
I'm sorry, I was
south.
thinking south of Columbia. That's what you meant.
Oh, yeah, no, first,
No,
that's
okay,
what I was talking
okay.
about.
Okay,
But then I was just resurrecting a
Certainly.
topic from a few meetings
Okay.
ago. So I'm just, if you could think about that,
absolutely.
if there's a way to slow traffic going south, that would be helpful after the
Absolutely.
merge.
And although when I did the field assessment of I did not look pretty much south of the freeway because I guess our focus was on north of the freeway section. But I will definitely visit that, assess what can we be done, and I'll take your suggestion
Okay, I
into
appreciate that.
consideration for sure.
And when you meet with, whenever the next time is you meet with residents, if there's a way to, I don't know how you're communicating with them, and I know there's a pretty active group on the Oliver, the sort of the east side,
Mhm.
right? With whom you've met so far. But if there's a way to notify folks on the west side as well, I know that the homes don't, there's some homes that front Orange Grove up until Oliver, and then it's just landscape, but there's a neighborhood there,
Yes.
right? And so it'd be great if they could be somehow aware of these conversations or meetings, so if they wanted to participate, they could. It's, so it's Columbia Street, Hillside, Hermosa. I think those are the three major ones. So just again, including people who are affected on both sides of the street when you're meeting with the community. That's all.
Yes, absolutely. And again, that's something I will mention to Gibson because again, they have to conduct those two meetings with the communities. And obviously, the west side of Orange Grove is part of Orange Grove. So I will let them know that to include the west side residents in any future meeting they will conduct for the studies they're performing right now.
No, I appreciate that. And, almost every meeting I've brought up Orange Grove. I did it last time because it was obvious, right? It was right after that horrible accident. So it's great to see things starting to move forward. And I wanted to check with you and I'm sure you were, but just to make sure, this issue, Orange Grove, particularly between Columbia and the freeway, is a Measure M MSP project.
Mhm.
Are you tying what you're doing into that? Is it the same thing? Because it's one of the Measure M projects. There was $500,000 allocated to it,
Yes.
which included comprehensive traffic study, things like that. Is that the same thing as what we're talking about tonight?
Yes, it is actually.
Okay.
That's same study we're talking about for
Okay.
Measure M. Yes.
So the latest accident just sort of accelerated our moving on this Measure M item. Is that a way to say it?
Yes.
Okay. And the last thing is, and I'll be quiet. We've had some really smart people come in the past when there was the prior accident, same house, and there've been multiple accidents in between, who had various interesting ideas, including trying to, there's the short term and the long term. And part of the long term is, one of the ideas was restoring the second lane, which was removed, because that takes care of the second southbound lane, which used to
That's
be
for
there.
southbound. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Which was removed as one of the wonderful Rogan projects, and that created the pinch, and that's created the accidents. So one of the ideas, in fact, the way it was described was a widening project to put the second lane back. Some people were concerned about that, so the thought was to look at different ideas. One of them was, is there a way to have a conversation with Pasadena at some point about managing that merge north of Columbia? The merge from 2 lanes to 1, north of Columbia in their city versus ours. And not because it's a them versus us, but because Orange Grove is straight all the way from Columbia up to the freeway. to the 134, 210?
Actually, yes.
So to me, it's like a no-brainer that at some point that number 2 lane should be closed off or merged into the number 1 lane and north where it's safe. Maybe there's been some pushback, I don't know, but it certainly would seem to be a reasonable long-term solution.
And actually, I should give our friends and Pasadena credit because when I meet with them on a monthly basis, just to touch bases on issues we have in both cities. And after the accident, in one of our monthly meeting, they asked us if there's anything we can do from our side, please let us know. And I told them I'm taking you on this because I might bring you into conversation after maybe with the Gibson later on the report. So they're active. They understand what's going on here, and they offer to help. Really.
That's great. So is that kind of an option that Gibson would be looking at?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Absolutely.
Terrific. All right. Well, thank you very much. Sorry to pepper you with all that. but,
No, not at all. Thank you very much.
It's
Appreciate it.
important. Any other questions, comments? No? Bassam, anything? Any last words?
No, I just
Okay.
actually,
Okay.
I want to thank you really very much for all of these suggestions. This is a good one that I really look into it, the one south of the freeway. And yes, if there's anything we can do, definitely we're not going to spare that. We'll do.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Oh,
Did
Go
we
ahead,
get a
Commissioner.
timeline of when the comprehensive study would be done?
I don't have an exact time, but we're looking at a good maybe 3 to 4 months actually.
Okay.
Maybe mid February or something like that.
in the short term,
Those
is that sooner than that or?
definitely as soon. These are something we can do in house. It might be a little couple of weeks or so because we're ordering some signs that we need to do. And
Oh, that's great.
yes, we're working on those. It's just a matter of having the right equipment and tools. to
Wonderful.
install.
And I wonder if we should consider, and then I will be quiet. I mentioned there was a speed feedback sign some time ago that had been knocked down and was never replaced. Maybe as part of Gibson's work, they can think about whether that's a value, something of value that should be
Absolutely.
reinstated. Just a thought.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, we told them to really explore anything possible out there, not to spare anything.
Sure. All right. Thank you very much, Bassam. Really appreciate your hopping on this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, item 4, update on status of Grevillea and Berkshire Pocket Park project.
Okay, good evening, Commissioners. Staff wanted to provide an update on our progress towards the 2 pocket parks, the Grevillea and Berkshire Pocket Parks. So we prepared this presentation with some progress photos, construction timelines, and little sneak peek is that we're very close to completion. Thank you. Could we go to the next slide, please, Philip? So the project was awarded by City Council November 6th of 2024, and construction began March 3rd of 2025. While the base bid of the construction was slightly over $1.8 million, with 15% contingency, the contract not to exceed was $2,112,000. Scope of work included the construction of both pocket parks at 1107 Grevillea Street and 2006 Berkshire Avenue. Project includes grading, landscaping, electrical work, plumbing, drainage improvements, and also both parks include a StormTech water capture unit. And both parks offer some amenities such as fitness equipment, play areas, drinking fountains for residents and for their pets. This was the project site at the start of construction. On the left is the Grevillea site after our contractor set up fencing around it. And then on the right is the Berkshire site. The Berkshire site has a natural slope going down. So right here, we're standing at the bottom of the site, the back of the park site. At which point they started doing their clearing and grading operations. You could see it was quite a bit of cleanup at both sides. These were both Caltrans lots, actually, that the city acquired. So there was an initiative to turn them into community sort of pocket parks. After we did the clearing and grading operations, As I mentioned, due to the slope at the Berkshire site, soil had to be imported in and compacted. You can see on the right, one of our construction crew staff is doing a compaction test. And all those small little holes you see are the rollers that they use to compact the soil. Because of all the irrigation, there's lighting infrastructure, as well as the storm tech units. We're installing conduit for our electrical work, irrigation lines for all the sprinklers that'll, water all of the landscaping and provide water to the drinking fountains. And then both sides have these storm drains that capture water from the site, take it to that storm tech unit, and allow it to be captured and percolate into the ground. This is the photo of the storm tech unit. So this is the Berkshire site. You can see how deep they had to dig to get all the elevations to work. And on the right is that storm tech unit that's going to capture all the water on site. You can see the filter fabric surrounding the storm tech unit, and underneath it is crushed rock so the water can percolate under and recharge our natural aquifers. Excuse me. One of the unique parts about the Berkshire Park was construction phasing was critical because we had to work our way out backwards. Certain things that we did in the site, you wouldn't be able to get back in there if you did something out of order. So of course, we're starting with the retaining walls at the back. These are CMU retaining walls that will that contain the park on to the east side. And both parks have some pretty unique concrete seating structures and planters. This is just some examples at Berkshire Park. You see how detail oriented the formwork is, and those are some before and after photos of after they formed and poured concrete and removed the formwork. Something similar here around one of the existing palm trees that we have at the Berkshire site. This was a nice touch at the Grevalier site. At the back of the site is a tree bench. So here they're forming a circled out that will have the tree in the center, and we'll have some some seating area around the tree. So you can see they formed that, and leading to this tree is a path that will lead you from the front of the site off of Grevalier, and you can walk through the site and get to the back of the park and have a seat under the tree. The Berkshire site has these decorative bollards. Because of the slope of the site, this is kind of a layer effect as you go down into the site. I believe each one of these weighed about 400 pounds. And then we have more smaller, different size bollards at the bottom of the site around landscaping, just giving a really, a nice effect as you go down and makes you feel like it was very detail oriented. I will say that much. And the entry gate at the Berkshire Park. We have these two CMU columns that this brick veneer was installed in front of. This photo doesn't show it, but both parks do have a monument out front. And the wall you see on the left has like a wood kind of a form, a press that's placed on it to give the grain of the wood, despite it being concrete. And they came back after in the photo on the right and added fencing on top and a gate. This was that tree well we were looking at previously at the Grevalier Park all the way in the back. This is after they installed the bench. They've installed some lighting infrastructure you can see on the site, park furniture, trash bins, benches. On the left, I think the next photo will show it better. The Grevalier site has, on the left, you could see it a little bit better. It has a green sort of rubberized play area with there are mushrooms and logs, things like that for children to play on. And then on the right, you could see the tile work that went into the short seating wall that we built. This is kind of at the entrance of the park as you enter the site. This is after we finished underneath the brick veneer we were talking about previously. We added this Arroyo River Rock sort of decorative foundation, if you will, and lighting outside of the park. And on the right, you could see some of those different size decorative boulders. This is not complete yet. These photos are as of Monday. So we're still working on it. There's going to be some mulch that's added, some more landscaping, but these are just the latest photos that we have. This is as you go down Berkshire Park, you see the decorative boulders and the ADA ramp that will take you down into the back of the site. I should mention both parks do also have these doggy waste bins with the receptacles and the bags. And although I'm calling it the Berkshire Park, the official name of the park will be the Dr. Beatrice Solis Memorial Park. So the Dr. Beatrice Solis Memorial Park has a memorial plaque there on the decorative boulder. And we also have one at the Gravalia Park for Linda Crossan, who's a neighbor who lives right next door, who, during the initial stage of this project was helping coordinate the community and help working with community services staff when this project was in its inception stage. She still lives next door, and we're excited to be able to commemorate her efforts as well with this project. And on the right, you can see some of the fitness equipment. So Berkshire Park also has some fitness equipment that will be installed here. They're still wrapped by the protective bubble packaging. And here's a photo of the monuments that we're talking about. As you enter the park, you'll see this is the Gravalia Park on this CMU block wall with the tiled inlay. So we're expecting construction to be complete November 21st and anticipating a opening ceremony the first week of December. That, I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Oh, thank you, Michael. It's very impressive. Great presentation. I'll just go around the room. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Michael on this?
Yeah. I don't believe we have emergency phones there, Commissioner Hernandez. Yes.
Okay. Before no.
I'm sorry. I just am curious, some of the features of this or even of the construction I was curious if these are requirements, standard, or if it has the grant funding or what, but like the storm tech water retention facility or having the workout equipment or I guess some of the things about the park that are those requirements of standards that we have or environmental clearance or grant funding or what?
Sure. They're not requirements of standards that we have. The park did receive funding. This project did receive funding from Measure A and Prop 68, and both of those grants had certain elements that are eligible expenses. So, for example, the fitness equipment is, I believe, Prop 68 funded. So that's something that's completely funded by that grant. And some of like the flat work, the landscaping, that comes from like a Measure A grant. So really, it was just about creating a space that is inviting to the community. This is for the community. They're not large parks, they're neighborhood pocket parks. So creating the space for families to go there and hang out and have the amenities that they can use and enjoy. That was the goal.
I guess in particular, I'm thinking with the water retention, that seems like a sizable cost item that I'm wondering,
Yes.
did that site actually require it because of the slope, or is it?
So thank you. Partly, yes, because of the Berkshire Park, we're capturing that in the back and percolating it because of the slope. But also, most cities do have requirements for, stormwater capture and retention. So, projects like this, or even if you see dry wells that cities install, all of those are sort of part of a statewide effort to reduce the amount of water that goes into our catch basins and into the ocean, to capture that water, allow it to percolate into the ground and go into our aquifer. So every city has some level of compliance efforts that they have to achieve.
Okay. Thank you. And I guess the last thing I just had, there's a gate there. Is that gate locked at times? I don't know if that's a question for the Parks Department rather than you, but
Yeah.
and it goes to, I guess, a broader question I had about a number of the parks. There's gates on parks down at the Arroyo or Orange Grove or elsewhere where there's a lot of locked gates, and I guess I'm curious why, we lock gates to parks when there's other entrances that are unlocked.
Sure. I think it's just a safety concern, right? If the park gate is locked, then you wouldn't have somebody entering the site. And after hours, a lot of parks do have operating hours, dusk to dawn. So I imagine we'll have park staff go there, open the park during the day, come back at night, close it after closing hours, and just return the next day and continue to do that.
Thank you.
So that was my first question is, will these parks have hours? And if so, what are they? Will it be like the other parks, dusk to dawn, that kind of thing, or?
I imagine I can double check with the
Or dawn
Community
to dusk.
Services Department.
Okay. The stormwater capture that you showed us, that's at both parks?
Yes.
Okay,
I only showed the photo of Berkshire, but yes, they're at
Oh.
both parks.
okay, great. Is the Berkshire Park bigger than the Grevillea Park? Are they similar sized?
Approximately
take-
same parcel size.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the Berkshire Park has some fitness equipment. You showed us they're wrapped up. Does Grevillea?
No, Grevillea does not.
Okay. Do you know why one has it and the other
I
doesn't?
believe the Prop 68 funding was only for the Berkshire Park,
Huh. Okay,
and that element was an eligible expense under the Prop 68 funding.
gotcha. And the consideration for watering fountain for pets, that's at both parks?
Yes.
Okay, my dog appreciates that. Last question. So uh, amazing. It's very exciting. These have been in the works for a crazy amount of time. So it's so awesome to see this come to life and to be so close. And by the way, this what you call monument sign that
Yes.
is ridiculously beautiful. I mean, the design is great. The craftsman look and feel and the tile and just really, really well thought out. So kudos to you and the team. The only other question I had is, so like, I guess all of our, well, except Arroyo, many of our parks, there is no parking, dedicated parking lot, right? So it's just gonna be the parking available along the curb in the neighborhood. Has there been any thought given to restricting time, parking time in the block or so around where these parks are so that there's circulation and access for people? I mean, hopefully most people walk, bike, all those great things. But for maybe those who want to drive, it'd be great if maybe there was an opportunity to park. So I was just wondering if that had been considered, and if not, would you?
Sure. We haven't considered that. I mean, I think the intention was that the neighbors would be able to walk to that site. It really is meant for that, community in that area to enjoy it. Of course, anyone can go there, and hopefully walk or ride a bike. But we can look into that. Of course, these are really one parcel,
Right.
so you're talking maybe a 50-foot frontage to the street. So, but we can look into
So
that.
what is that, a couple of spaces? Maybe?
About, 2.5 if a car
Okay.
is 20 feet.
So maybe for the curb line just in front of the park, even if that's something that can circulate and rotate, that might be helpful for folks.
We'll
Yeah.
look into that. Thank you.
No,
very
no,
much.
thank you. Yeah, these parks will not have restroom facilities, right?
No,
Okay.
they do not.
Okay. Terrific. Well, thank you very much. Yeah,
Thank you.
it's very exciting. And you'll let us know when, so it will be a different day, opening ceremony for each park, or do you have an idea yet how you're
I
going to do
believe they're
that?
planning both at the same day, on the same day. So
Be
maybe
like a
start at
caravan.
one and then go to the other one.
Okay.
Community Services and City Manager's Office is leading that grand opening, but I can touch base with them and see how they're
Okay.
planning to organize it.
Do like a bike bus from one to the next or something, like, who knows? Anyway, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And I apologize if I didn't ask if there was any public comment. Online in the audience? No. Okay, closed. Okay, well, that's exciting. Thanks, everyone. So moving on, item 5, approval of minutes of our last meeting on October 8th. I took a look at them. I thought they were okay. Did anybody have any thoughts, comments, just additions, deletions? Sparse, yes. Not as substantive as I would like, but I've made that comment already. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve? please?
Sure, motion to approve.
Okay, Commissioner Jones moves, do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Kerwin seconds, okay. Would you call the roll vote?
Yep.
The vote.
Commissioner Dunlap,
Yes.
Commissioner Kerwin.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes?
Commissioner Hernandez.
Okay, you don't have to, but you can. Okay,
Chair Abelson.
yes,
Motion is approved.
okay. Thank you, everyone. All right. Make sure, yes, so item 6, City Council Liaison Communications. Councilmember Ferguson.
I don't have a lot of stuff, but I do have, I did write down some, notes here. On that, Berkshire, Pocket Park, one of the things I wanted to mention was that I think these were all parcels that were originally, they're the standard like residential neighborhood parcels. So they would have the frontage, when he's talking about the 50-foot frontage, it's like a typical residential lot. So these are parcels that the city acquired, I think, through Caltrans, was it originally? Yeah, so they were, so vacant parcels that would have had homes or had homes that were torn down at some point that were, or that city acquired, and then what decided, rather than dispossess them, decided that to turn them into parks within the neighborhood. So, the frontage and parking and that sort of thing wouldn't necessarily be applicable, or would be a significant loss for the green space or the utilization of that park if they made like a parking lot or something like that, given how small they are relative to most parks. But on the Berkshire Park, the north side of that is directly abutted to the neighboring property. And currently, the separation between those two is the fence that resident has. And so I think that something that we would likely, as a city, want to consider is figuring out some type of fence or something that's within the park's property, because then you're not bound to what the owner of the other property does as far as the way they fence their property. So something that I think we'll need to consider at some point, but wanted to mention that. I believe so. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. No, because I think part of what happened with Berkshire is that because of the slope of the property, they didn't fence around all the way around the park, but I think in Gravalia they did. Correct? Or just Gravalia, am I mistaken in that? Want to go, if we go, are we going to go back to the pictures of it?
So for Gravalia, we built brand new fencing around all three sides at the property line, which involved, I think some of the side properties had fences that were constructed either within the property or, city property. So we rebuilt it at the exact property line. For Gravalia, we built a retaining wall at the back of the site. Sorry, Berkshire, thank you. For Berkshire, we built a retaining wall at the back of the site. On the south of the site, we do have a fence going from the entry gate all the way to the corner of the parcel. And on the north side, as Councilmember Ferguson alluded to, there's an existing retaining wall, CMU wall at the back that was constructed by the property to the north, but it's also built exactly on the property line. And then as you get closer to the entry gate, that retaining wall does get shortened because at that point you're essentially level again, but there's a chain link fence that's also on the property line. But certainly we can look into seeing, if there's an opportunity to add some sort of fencing there so that we're not reliant on an adjacent property owner's fence.
No, that's fine. Hopefully that's helped give some context behind, why there's the difference, but then also like, it's something that I think in the long term, we probably want to figure out some type of solution for. And so I'm open to ideas for how to do that. One of the things that I thought might actually be a creative thing to do would be to reach out to maybe some civic organizations, like either like Spark or South Pasadena Beautiful, and make it like something that's actually a community engagement project that kind of like where it's like a like community fence. Like I'm not sure if you folks have seen any of the fences over in like there's a park in the city of LA on York that has like a decorative iron fence that was welded up that has like flower, like leaf looking structure. So it's kind of a nice adds a nice bit of character to the space. And so that might be something to kind of get the community involved in and then kind of like celebrate the fact that it's now here in the community. So wanted to mention that. On the streets, I saw a lot of public comments came in via email. So this is something I wanted to kind of mention to Bassam that was involving the intersection at, was it Monterey and Indiana, correct? So I wanted to kind of get that on the radar. I'm not sure how we want to go about looking at that traffic, if we want to do, you know, if we want to, how we want to handle that. We can take this.
Actually, I just want to mention that we are actually initiating study at that intersection, Monterey and Indiana.
Okay.
I just started something, I visited some fish, working.
Okay, great. So sounds like there's a study coming, so that's good. Let's see. We talked about the parks, we talked about streets. Been digging into the climate action plan a little bit. So I'm not sure how that will interplay with some of these things, but we might see some type of item on an agenda or request for an item to be on agenda in the future regarding that as we kind of work through our city's climate action plan. I'm not sure if you folks are familiar with it, but essentially we had a green plan, which I forgot what the title of that one was. And then we came up with a climate action plan that set up these targets for things that we were trying to do within the community to meet various environmental goals. And so what we've been kind of tasked with, or at least Councilmember Rossi and myself, is trying to better encapsulate what specific deliverables we're able to achieve with this plan. That way and establish some reporting cadence as far as how we're going about getting through these things. So some of that involves like active transportation and like street design. So I think like things like our Slow Streets project and things like these the water capture can play into that. And the last thing that I had was I've been trying, since I was on Public Works, I've been wanting to have a tour of the city's water facilities organized. So that way we can get commissioners out to kind of see, kind of wrap their heads around some of this infrastructure, especially as we get into these larger projects. And so that's something that I kind of want to flag to kind of get back on the radar. I think it'd be helpful for commissioners as well as some council members as well. That's about it. How's it going? That's it. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you
again
very
for your
much,
time.
Councilmember Ferguson.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Tana, you're hopping on the water tour, yeah?
Good evening, commissioners. Yes, if my recollection serves me, we did promise a tour. So we'll make sure that's scheduled on, on our calendar and take you guys out.
Thank you. Okay, moving along. Item 7, Commissioner Communications. I'm going to start from the left. Commissioner Jones, anything?
Sure, just a couple of quick ones. A community member pointed out that some of the outdoor seating on Mission was starting to go away. Is that program expiring, or is there, I feel like that should fall under our view, but I don't really know.
Come on down.
As you recall, those were put in 2020 by the recommendation of this body when it was MTech to help the businesses to the recovery. Since then, we put the sample parklet at the Jones Coffee exactly last year. So now we're continuing on engaging the other businesses. Griffin is the next one, Griffin, the Irish pub, and also Arrow have interest to mimic what we have put in at Jones. So as a matter of fact, we were coordinating with the carrier rental company that has been the carriers since then to remove them tomorrow and then slowly start putting in the platform similar to what's at Jones next week, and then purchase the carriers to put them for the Griffin Irish pub, and then continue on to install the same thing for the Arrow restaurant.
It's the same footprint as the existing?
It's same footprint because there are other businesses, and not to, to give spaces. everyone is sensitive to who their neighbors are. So Jones Coffee, with agreement with everyone there, have their footprints. It's almost identical at the Irish pub as well.
Thank you. That was,
You're very welcome.
yeah, curiosity satisfied.
Sure.
I'd like to follow up on that item.
Yeah, I was going to say, before you leave.
Sure.
Yeah,
Ms.
I mean, I guess,
Have-
so I have talked to a few people in the Chamber of Commerce and elsewhere, and it sounds like there's a real lack of outreach or information to the folks, at least in the chamber or local businesses, about the slow streets and what's happening. It seems like a real dearth of knowledge of the status. I think not just in terms of replacing, the one or two existing parklets, but the overall slow streets program. And that's, I mean, when I started this commission, that was one of the highest priorities of the overall commission. And Director, Ted, before he left, 5 months ago, that was the last formal update we've had on the project, and it was supposed to be moving forward this year. So I guess, can you elaborate a little bit more on the overall slow streets project status?
This ties into the design, right? What does mission look like? And with these parklets being installed there, the design would incorporate them as part of the slow streets program. Yes, there's been a lack. We have, to get back to this body again to provide viable options to consider and see which design works to move forward with that. I'll admit to that.
I'm sorry, so the current status of the project, you guys are doing outreach to the local businesses right now? Is that what you're?
For the parklets or for the actual design of the slow streets?
Both.
For the parklets, yes, we've coordinated with the businesses to make sure there's some sort of an agreement for them to continue on that program because it was put in just as a temporary measure. For the design, that's still ongoing to get the consultant on board to finalize it. Because I know we brought, when Ted was here, different options to consider. I don't think we ever tied it to one design that everyone agreed on to move forward, based on my recollection.
So you're currently in the process of procuring a designer for it?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
And then I was curious too, I very much respect the will of the businesses, but is it just up to the businesses of how the size and configuration of parklets, or are these a community asset, or, I mean, is there opportunities for input from the public on these, or is it just to the business there in front of
It's
it?
the businesses, because I'm sure there's going to be some sort of a lease agreement with the city because they are using the right of way that the city owns. So it's up to what they can lease and what their needs are, and also what the other businesses based on the business, the property owner of that particular lot, to see if they want to keep space for parking and other needs. Because when they were initially put in, they were just put in for those that needed it. So that needs to be revisited to make sure, do you need it? For example, Shiro, just right across the street, do not want to that at all. And so they have removed all their equipments. So we're removing the K rails, that we're not putting anything there.
Okay.
Correct. I hope that answers your.
Yeah.
'Cause there's a lot of moving part throughout the years. It's trying to clean up now at this point.
Okay. I guess, I mean, it seems like there are opportunities. I don't know if there's always, trying to think of a location necessarily, but where there might be a public benefit to the parklet being there, that maybe the business is agnostic to it, or it's not a cafe or a restaurant, but there's actually a space there where there could be a parklet that serves the public, maybe with some public seating, versus just a lease paid by a business. So I guess I'd be curious to find out more about this project overall.
Absolutely.
I know there was talk at one point about an ad hoc committee for this specific project. Is that still under consideration, or?
I can find out and get back to you guys.
One more quick point, if you don't mind. Sorry, sort of a pedantic point. I know that a lot of, or some publications have moved away from using accident and instead favor crash. Do we have a consensus on that, or a best practices that we follow? It irks me to hear it, but I don't know if it actually bothers anyone else.
Crash versus accident, I think
Yep.
that would be the Sam's purview. I'll defer to him for the.
All right, fair enough.
I don't think the city has a preference and there is really no significant difference when you say crash versus accident. The only thing that I can think of is probably when we say accident, we refer to something that maybe involve bodily injury or even property damage rather than when you're crashing to something that is not necessarily uh, very impactful on the accident itself, like minor accidents per se, like fender bender, things like this. That's my own interpretation, but there's really no significant difference between the wards. I don't think our city has any preference one way or the other, or if there's anything that we.
I'm curious then if the commission has a consensus on that. We can discuss some other time. It doesn't meet this evening, but I know that there is a.
They're both used, by the way, by the state of California. You can confirm.
Yeah, I understand that some publications are moving away from it because it's accident tends to be like exonerating language that some people like to avoid.
The most official word is incident, actually. That's the official word
Yeah.
they use.
I understood when we leased the K-rails that there was a design to prevent cars from, when if they do hit it, that there's I don't know if the terminology is if you hit a K-rail, that there's a certain amount of force that prevents a car from going through it. And I thought that was the reason why we opted to lease those K-rails and put them at different locations.
With the parklets or the outdoor dinings?
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, that was in 2020.
I know that was
Yeah.
back a
You
few
know
years
more.
ago. I know, I was there.
Right. But they're an approved
Okay.
equipments to protect.
But now
the
the
impact.
K-rails that we're replacing them with have the same design?
Correct.
They
They're
do.
Same
Okay.
standards. They're all Caltrans standards to ensure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you answered my question on RO.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Antenna and Bassam. So I've just got a few. Amari, did you want to add anything?
That way there could be a substantive discussion. That way, if there's any input that you want to provide to that happen, be captured, memorialized versus kind of having it in this fashion. It's not really not super action, you know. And then that could be give staff time to either prepare a full report about it or.
Sorry, could you use the microphone?
So what I was suggesting is that the commission consider having an item on a future agenda regarding the whether we're calling them parklets or sidewalk dining or leased K-rail spaces into the street. So that way they can get the full background of kind of where the projects currently sit and provide any input for direction going forward. And that way it can be substantive and also memorialized into whatever recommendations get fed to council. So.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Second that. Do we?
Yeah, if you want to,
Do it, does that need to be a?
I would say, I don't know what the timeline is in terms of when staff is next coming back to us on the overall traffic plan, which is what many of us are energized about, would like to see. But I don't know if that's, would be the time to do this, or if we're going to have that conversation, it needs to be sooner. What do you think, Michael?
So during the staff liaison comments, I was going to give an update on what we think we can bring to council, to the commission in December. And the piece that was missing to move forward with the Slow Street project on Mission was what is going to happen to these dining decks. So we were working through that to see how that would affect the design ultimately of the bicycle lanes and the road diet. And then Commissioner Kerwin, your question about the ad hoc committee was also, we didn't know what direction the city would go in with these dining decks, right? So over the past few months, we talked to the businesses, we saw that we're establishing this, you know, I'll work with staff internally to see if we do need to create an ad hoc committee anymore. And if we do, we'll certainly return back to the commission. And now that we have the direction on what's happening to the dining decks, the next step is procurement of the design firm that will do the prepare the plans, specifications, and estimates for the project. And once we have maybe a 30 or 60% design, maybe 30% design, we'll come back to the commission to share our progress on the Slow Street project.
So is the short version that you're coming to us next month on this project in some way, shape, or form, or not?
Not on the Mission Slow Street project. Next month, we anticipate bringing or agendizing an item agendizing an item that talks about the traffic speed enforcement toolbox that we've been working on. This is going to be kind of a toolbox of different type of traffic calming.
Oh, is this the NTMP essentially?
It's tied to the MTMP. So we'd like to bring it to the commission and receive feedback and input from this body. We'll then need to take that to council as well. So that's
Okay.
what we're anticipating discussing next month.
Okay. I guess I would be interested in hearing more about Mission Slow Streets and in particular, the comment I made where there may not be a need or a request from the business to have a dining deck, but maybe there's a public amenity that could be provided there. So I guess I'd be curious to hear more about how that process works.
Sure.
If-
We know
if-
when we come back with to the commission to talk about that, we'll definitely include that in our presentation.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I don't have a lot, but I know that one item that Councilmember Rossi had mentioned is just interest from the city and developing a Vision Zero initiative and Vision Zero action plan. And that's something that I work on daily and something that I'd love to help support, but wanted to kind of recognize that this Sunday is the World Day of Remembrance for people killed in traffic crashes. In LA County last year, there were 711 people killed in traffic crashes. Our city helped contributed a little bit to that number, as well as a lot of jurisdictions across the county. And there's going to be an art installation this Sunday in Grand Park that some advocacy organizations are doing, that they're setting up 711 chairs to acknowledge those victims. So just wanted to draw attention to that and use that day to remember and honor those lives lost. Thank you.
Grand Park downtown? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Dunlap. Anything else? Okay. And I asked that because I cut off Commissioner Kerwin. He had a couple other things he wanted to share. So back to you.
Sorry. So yeah, I just did want to mention one that there are 6 comments in here, pretty comprehensive about the Indiana Monterey intersection, which Councilmember Ferguson did mention as well. I will say I noted in there that those were submitted to the city council public comments as well as directly to a number of the city council members. I didn't see them in the agenda additional items there before the October 15th meeting. So I guess I'll go back and double check, but I don't believe that they were actually showed up in there. So I was a little bit interested in that, and if these are getting to these sorts of comments getting to the council. But on that item in particular, I do want to echo the sentiment that's expressed in there. I mean, just that section, it's really Monterey just becomes a speedway through there. It's 5 lanes. There's 2 lanes in each direction, middle turn lane, and the 2 outside lanes are extremely wide. So it's becomes kind of a right at that area, very dangerous intersection to cross or just for vehicles generally speeding down there. So I think that area is worth considering for road diet or other measures to reduce speeds through that section. The other item I just wanted to bring up was at Arroyo Vista. I know that there's previously, I think at our last meeting, it was stated that that was the signage and so forth was gonna happen after the water storm drain project. So sometime next year, but now it sounds like that might move sooner. I have been in touch with the Arroyo Vista PTA and Principal Blaney both communicated to me some concerns about the timing of how quickly those signs would go up, those changes would be made, that there is some outreach that needs to happen to the community and concern, I guess, in speaking with a couple of neighbors, residents along that Hawthorne, where the parking restrictions would go in, that they haven't had any outreach so far. And that all of those parties have concerns about the time of the parking restriction till 7 p.m. It really, if the intent of this is to provide more safety during the drop-off and pickup hours of school. That ends by 3 o'clock. It seems 4 o'clock would be plenty sufficient. Keeping a parking restriction, no parking on that whole south side of Hawthorne until 7 p.m. Did seem a bit onerous and impactful for the residents, and not really justified by the need for a safer drop-off and pickup at the school. So talking to, again, the PTA presidents, and also hearing from Principal Blaney, there is a request that if we could, I don't know if it's just sticker decals or something, if the signs have already been ordered, to change that parking restriction when it initially goes in to something like a 4 o'clock, starting it from I think it's 7 a.m. or something till 4 p.m. rather than till 7 p.m. And then also for signage around the school, or posters or something that could be put up to help provide outreach to the parents and to the community around Arroyo Vista, but that change happening. So those are my comments. In particular, I guess in the signage and outreach, we did talk previously, I think, that your intent was to not restrict, say, the left turn from Indiana onto El Centro. I don't know if that still shows up on it, or also there was you had on your initial signage or diagrams that you provided a no drop off on the east side of Costin, which we indicated that's really not relevant, and it just adds confusion. So some of those things, I guess, if they're not already in whatever outreach materials you're going to provide, if you could clean those up to make it a little more straightforward of the specific changes that are going to happen, that would be helpful.
Thank you, Commissioner Kerwin.
Thank you.
We'll continue to coordinate between South Pasadena Unified School District and our staff, and we'll take your comments and see if, whatever it is that you're recommending, it gets reflected or not, and we'll follow up with you.
Anything else? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Kerwin. Okay, a couple things, well, a few, maybe several, small. Mike, would you or Bassam or Antenna, whoever might, when we go to the staff liaison communications, I'd be interested in hearing the status of our getting a striping contractor on board to restore missing center line and other striping around town, the status of the citywide engineering study / AKA speed survey. I was going to ask about the NTMP, but you sort of you touched on that a bit. Antenna, you mentioned that the dining deck, that's the first time I've heard that term. I like that. The dining deck is being removed, the one in front of Shiro. I was just wondering, when that is removed, are we restoring the parking that was once there? That's the plan? Okay. What's the timing, just ballpark, for removal? Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Indiana Monterey. So the topic for another day. I mentioned at the top of the meeting that we received comments on it. I would say I'm just going to get on my edge striping soapbox, which is that Monterey is pretty wide street, and that second through lane is pretty wide. And as part of looking at that intersection, I'm wondering if tightening up that number 2 lane, I guess is the right term to use, might help calm speeds a bit on Monterey. Not only that intersection, but that segment where it's really wide. Just a thought. The other thought I had, and this brings up a hot topic from, I guess, a couple of years ago now. Since it's school related, I was wondering if it made sense, and maybe this is part of what we might be considering, is a crossing guard something that might be appropriate for that location? Because I know we have quite a few, and for example, Marengo has 2 at Huntington and Marengo. I had my opinion on that, but so I'm just thinking that is a crossing guard something that might be a solution or an option to help protect kids as part of whatever else we might be considering? Last, it's off topic, but sort of on topic. I signed up for the Citizens Police Academy. The city hasn't had it for a few years. The police department is offering it again. The first session was this Monday, just a couple of days ago. It's 7 Mondays in a row. It ends towards the end of December. I mean, this one's already started, but I'm assuming it'll be successful and they'll offer it again. And it's only been one session, but it's been fascinating so far. And I think for anybody interested in what the police do and sort of a behind the scenes look as to how it happens, I think it's something well worth considering. So, and a shout out to Corporals Borello and Kim who are running it. They've really done a stand-up job, and it's like I said, it's only been the first session, but it's quite fascinating. I'm certainly looking forward to the Traffic Bureau week, but that's towards the end of it. That's it, I think, for my comments. So if there's nothing more from the group, I'll turn it over to Michael for staff liaison communications.
Thank you. So we already discussed some of these items, like what we plan on bringing in December, which is the traffic speed enforcement toolbox. Chair Abelson, to answer your question about the on-call contracts, we're still in the review process of the proposals we received for 3 different types of on-call contracts, but we anticipate going to council on the 17th to award those multi-year contracts. The other thing I wanted to mention was we're working on, as I'm sure you've heard tonight, the Monterey, Indiana Avenue. That's one of our traffic hotspots that we're looking at right now. And as we get the comprehensive traffic study completed, we'll certainly look to see what can be done there to reduce speeds as well. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was you may have noticed these commission meeting invitations are not like an ongoing meeting invite now. They're, by the date individual meeting invites. So I would just like to urge all the commissioners to please check the city emails and RSVP in advance. We would appreciate it as well.
Thank you,
That's all
Michael.
from me.
The speed survey. Do you have a timeline on that? We reviewed the engineering study. We'd seen it months
Yes.
ago and had some thoughts.
Yes. So the last few months we've been working on the Fremont Huntington project, the North South Fair Oaks project. Now we're working on this traffic speed enforcement toolbox. So I imagine we can come to the commission. We'll see if we can do December, but if not December, January. Yeah.
I'll vote for December if it's possible for obvious reasons. I would just say, I was just asking, do you have the adjustments, modifications, revisions back from the consultant? Or are we still waiting for those?
I can have that quick. We do.
Oh, okay,
So
great.
maybe December is more likely than I thought.
It's in your hands. Okay, wonderful. Okay,
Yeah.
thank
I
you.
guess
Michael.
one last thing I'd like to add is we've been working on staffing up the department, and we're happy to announce we have a new member joining our public works staff on Monday. So we'll have another project manager, and we're still trying to fill 3 more roles.
Wow. Oh, congratulations. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Any other staff comments from the team? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Well, I think we've come to the end. So unless there's something more, I'll call this meeting adjourned. Right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.